At you for your mock about the Likee TV Be send number channel so hit to man subscribe like share my one prince me be tes on your bench and Jemrenia that Jemung and Sim na Yankofa in some no in Amramana at you for some Ebobano. I know a din ye nina VIP Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia. Say Ghana future, say a ye aye ye nan trono a yard or sundo to Bosha Kesi, And he say, Mahmoud Bawumia, His Excellency, Eddie Abetuja say, come here, CCC, no, Obedia Bema, a free tertiary dear, no Bawumia, one farm, Macra, and Kenyo, no. Na a bra or can ye pay, not gonna foresee a woo, Bawumia, CC dear, aye. Na even though free tertiary education ya wakase odi bebe in Pokrano. Source of fun, sika ben and I would debe. He said much of Mrs. Kenny minimum. You to near you mind yet. He said no sika ben and I would debe find it for free tertiary education at you for any year. In social work, as a show, Gase Petel, so warm to be a man, papa ne pay yama. Members and some no mitremu pinti, a yemundo in Simnimuna, Yakuti in Samno Yaba. The account be an a moon swimming in an aha and albania, edinina a bebremo.
It's because the past is informing my present.
You say the present is not the past, or the past is not the present.
The present is not the past, or the past is or the past is not the present. If I had seen more commitment, especially on the part of this government towards persons living with disabilities, I would be more convinced. This one seems to be coming, maybe not coming out of nowhere. There are other things that have been done behind the scenes. Then I haven't been privy to that. Also, questions of funding. These days, because we are citizens and not spectators, even when we are promised things, we go a step further to ask, how is it going to be possible?
Right.
It's not enough to just say that we'll do X, Y, Z. We know that our fiscal space is quite tight. Even providing the free SHS is something that has become very difficult. It's one that also government has had a very strict posture on, not willing to review, if you will. If we say review, then sometimes it's taken as you mean to say cancellation, and that's not what we're saying. So to add on free tertiary education for persons living with disabilities, that could put a big strain on our pockets. So I simply want to ask the Vice President, how exactly is that going to be funded? Exactly, to do that, and also in a way that is sustainable, not that we start something big and strong and then it falls by the wayside. We've promised persons with disabilities too many things and we haven't been able to deliver. These are people that have to live in dignity as well.
As we speak, persons living with disability who used to work at the toll booths do not still have their jobs. Some are old arrears, and I remember very well, I was told on this network, and on Alfred and you as well, were told that some of them committed suicide because they couldn't take care of themselves, and they owed so much, etc. So it's just not fair that we may take advantage of their vulnerabilities, appeal to them because of an election year, but then what is the reality on the ground? Their reality is that they are not properly taken care of. Their reality is that a social protection standpoint is not the best. Their reality is that people always think that, well, they should play second fiddle to everything that's going on. Their reality is that they've been asking for an upgrade of how much is dedicated to persons living with disability within the common fund structure. Their reality is that like I showed at the Jolu Specials, the Greater Accra Assessment Center at Achimota, you saw the place and how it looked like, and how people who are supposed to be vulnerable in society, the facilities that are supposed to assess them and take care of them and to recommend where they go, in itself needed a lot of assistance. So the persons living with disability conversation, I'm happy that the Ghanaian society has woken up to it. But I think we're playing too much politics. Too much politics with their livelihood. Too much politics with it.
And with their lives as well.
So I am very, very clear on the way forward. I believe that persons with disabilities, we are going to have to support them a bit more. Persons with disabilities, we are giving scholarships to every sort of person, but I want to dedicate some of them monies from our scholarship secretariat and the GET fund to provide free tertiary tertiary education, both tuition and accommodation, to all persons of disabilities who make it into the universities, so that they can all benefit from that.
And that was Dr. Bawumia's promise. Well, some NDC folks have said that, well, this is a stolen manifesto idea, because in 2020, the NDC had this idea in the People's Manifesto, as they call it, page 74, item 7, paragraph 2 and 6. And they said, look, we have said it already. You cannot come and be saying these things again as if it's something new, because it's already been said now. Now, the question is that what the country needs at this time? And is the country able to afford it? And if we decide that we can afford it, what is the sustainability plan? And within the sustainability plan, how do we ensure that it doesn't go to persons living with disability who are just politically exposed, or is going to every person living with disability who gets it? Because as we speak, even in the disbursement of the District Assembly Common Fund, there are people who have written their names, queued, and are waiting for their turn, either to get a sewing machine or school fees or something. And some of the times, by the time the money is given to you as school fees, you would have gone through 2-3 years of school already. You know, so we need to pay proper attention to some of these promises that are made to persons living with disabilities. It's only fair that we get it. But Alex Kojo Tete is the President, Center for Employment of Persons Living with Disability, joins us on the phone line. Alex, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, sir.
Now, the Vice President and the NPP's flag bearer is promising that persons living with disability will have free tertiary education. In 2020, John Mahama and the NDC's manifesto on page 74 also pushed forward that agenda. What does your organization think about it on behalf of persons living with disability?
Yeah, thank you very much. This is a welcome news. It means that the flag considered persons with disabilities as one of the very key factors becomes the president of this country. So we are glad. Secondly, for the press, it's a great news that we will be giving to be able to go high in education and that of getting employment. So it's a good news, but this is just a promise. So that when he'll become president, he'll be able to implement it.
Now, in terms of implementation, that brings us to the next point, where you are made such promises and many others. For example, persons with disability were told will be giving the first hand. In fact, the jobs at the toll booths were going to be reserved for you. At the time when the abolishment of those levies came into being, you were not even contacted. That's one. Number two, most of the people still feel peeved. They have not been compensated. And number three, most of the people are still unemployed. If you just suppose this happening with the vice president in charge as number two in the government against what he's now promising, do you believe that it will be achievable?
That is another matter. But what has happened with the toll so sad. For 2 years, our people have been struggling. After the toll booths, the appointment were terminated. But it took the initiative of the Youth Employment Agency, the Chief Executive. He has been able to employ all the former toll workers. Appointments have been terminated. He has all of them, and they've been.
For my in way and to draw sometimes in Ghana yes say more near mutati and say munam kumputu dream mobes empire ama or my Ghana because yakwa yes and trono a yadoson bosha Kesi because we need to educate more Ghanaians for so say Ghanaian Nyano Ghanaians no woman anti manko school ni inse bi mo ha partisans some no edidi wo mutinti we need to educate them because Bawumia nsem a waka say free tertiary education ya on the bebe yom wo bu ha eto ni trima onu say no kore because he is not well educated nti nsem bi wo ha o hu say entro na say frakadam bi na Mahmudu Bawumia excellency warrior nti we appeal to you people say mo nyina no you collaborate with stars no yetimi a share piece of information yetimi educate Ghanaians for no omunye educated no say ne be ya coming 2024 no Nyankopon eya adoma batwo no so no omunsan ko repeat mistakes na omoye wo 2020 no.
He offered appointment letters and they even started work. For us, it's a 50-50 affair. Happy. It's just a promise. So, and its promise comes after. So when he has said it, we will follow it up and ensure that it's implemented.
Now, you will follow it up, and that's good. But the commitment levels to get this done has always come into question. Do you and your organization ask those questions too?
And it looks like you're not.
Mr. Tete, I'm asking that the commitment levels for some of these projects always come into question, and the press will ask questions. Do you and your group also ask questions?
We do, and so through your medium, we asking questions that. I mean, once he has promised it, and he even gave where from. He talked about the scholarship. The scholarship will be reserved persons with disabilities. As we speak, scholarships are not given to persons with disabilities to get scholarship as persons with disabilities. So, I mean, to promise before, or it has to be factored into the person manifesto, and then after the comes to power, he tries to implement it. So we to start with, we are happy with the promise, and he comes to power. We'll make sure that if it is promised by implementing it.
I see. What does this promise mean to you? I mean, if all persons living with disability get free tertiary education, what will it mean?
Please, can you repeat it?
I'm asking that if all persons living with disability get free tertiary education going forward, if it's done by either NDC or NPP, as it appears both of them have promised now, what will it mean for the persons living with disability community?
It will mean a lot. It will mean a lot. It's persons who are able to go through basic processes will have access to go to have education. And it means that it opens employment for persons with disabilities. They'll be able to have the requisite capacity to be able to work. Employers will be willing to have abilities because they have the ability. Parents will do all they can to ensure that they are able to push through or go through the complete it, so that they will benefit from the free tertiary. So this is what it will mean to with disabilities, and of course the status of disabled people will be high, and then other things will follow. I mean, other opportunities will be open to us. You know, education is key, and knowledge is power. So it means that persons with disabilities would also raise their status and be educated and have the capacity to contribute to nation building.
Were you part of the brainstorming session before this promise was put out there in the public domain?
No, we were not part. We were not part. What happens is that we, as the disability community, came up with a manifesto, a disability manifesto. So, and this manifesto factored everything that we expected any of the political parties that come to power to do for us. In fact, I can mention that free tertiary education wasn't part of the thing, but we did state in our disability manifesto that our education should be accessible and also affordable. And so, out of the political parties, if they decide to make tertiary education free to persons with disabilities, it's well and good. I'm sure, and what I will recommend is that after this promise, they will come back to us, and then we would also input into how implementation of this will be feasible.
I see. Well, I want to thank you very much for your time, Alex Kojo Tete, Executive President. Yeah, we're grateful. Thank you so much indeed.
Grateful too.
And Africa Education Watch, we're trying to pick their thoughts as well on it. So, Helen, it's clear they were not consulted. The promise was just made publicly. They heard it, but they think it's a good call, and that if it's implemented, it will help persons living with disability gain more grounds, more inclusivity and the rest. There's always that blueprint question that comes up, and what weight that the party places on such promises in their manifesto. I don't know if you have thought around it.
When you talk about what weights that they're placing on it, how important is that?
So
right.
a guiding principle. Okay, this is what we want to do. Free tertiary for all persons living with disability. This is how we want to roll it out. Short-term, medium-term, long-term plan. This is how much it's going to cost us. By 5-year period, by 10-year period, this is how many graduates would have gotten in what fields. All of those dynamics. I don't know if they have done it, because it just appeared that we will give public persons living with disability an opportunity, and that's it. Look, for the avoidance of doubt, let's hear the Vice President again. Let's hear him.
So I am very, very clear on the way forward. I believe that persons with disabilities, we are going to have to support them a bit more. Persons with disabilities, we are giving scholarships to every sort of person, but I want to dedicate some of them monies from
Team for the Master Saturday Broad Likee TV. Comment section where modern notification bell na click sway. See drop latest content to be also on Sabekami. Yadamasi Akroma.